Aloha everyone. My apologies for not making a video lesson. I can't remember last time I made one. I think I made one this weekend. So it's been a couple of days, but I've been extremely sick. If you might be able to hear it in my voice. I'm not sure. Maybe you don't. Whatever. The bottom line is that it appears that I am now on the downswing. So I should be getting slowly better throughout the rest of the week. Maybe one more night of NyQuil and we'll be good to go on Thursday. The stock market on Wednesday, very solid session. We rolled over into the close in the chat room with an hour to go into the day. I told everyone I had a major feeling that was going to happen, and in fact it did. But still, besides that, the Russell 2000 still led on the day, up 0.60%. The S&P 500 led on the downside, only down 0.05%, very orderly. Excellent breadth in my Cancelim, Perfect Speculator scans, and my personal holdings and my BOP scans look pretty good. So everything looks okay, but there is one slight issue. The IBD put call ratio, I think I saw it was at 0.62. That is a new 52-week low. So further indication that the crowd is getting a little too bullish up here. And as long as that's the case, excuse me, everyone. Sorry. Hedges are going to become are still the priority, even though I expect them to fail. Remember, I take these hedges wanting them to fail. I do not take these hedges wanting them to succeed. If they succeed, that means my long positions are sucking wind. I don't want that. So whenever I take these hedges, I expect them to fail. If they fail, great. We take the capital after the tiny losses and we put it into new signals, and we do that again. But one day, these hedges are going to trigger. They're going to keep moving higher, meaning that the market's going to start falling. New long signals are going to dry up. Long positions will stop ripping through stops. And you're going to be very thankful that we initiated these hedges that then will eventually turn into short positions on the market. Right now they're hedges, nothing more, nothing less. So with that getting started, we'll start it off with the hedge. SPXS was confirmed with XPXU, SH, and overall action in the S&P 500. SPXS hedge signal above average volume, reversal off the lows. 30.48 is going to be my limit order. 30.16 is your cut loss level. I am now treating all hedges here the same. If I buy 100 shares, if SPX goes below 30.17, I will be out of 50. If the next day's low day is 30.03, once it hits 30.02, I will be out of 25 shares. Then it will be 13. Then it will be 7. Then it will be 4. Then it will be 2. Then it will be 1. Then it'll be none. And that's how I'm going to treat these hedges, because we're in nosebleed territory with a very complacent VIX, a very complacent IBD put call. Eventually, one of these days, it's going to turn into a real pullback. But right now, we're far away. So let's get to all the new long signals. AIN. From my Cancelim quality scan, also confirmed in my price volume BOP scan. Want to get long, limit order 61.95, first cut loss level 60.21. Final cut loss level, did I have it here? 15, what am I using? Oh, I'm using the green, the final green BOP day back here. So the final cut loss level, 59.64 AIN. Pretty good long signal. It was confirmed today in my chat room by subscriber member who is very good with his stock selection and is an excellent source of confirmation. And he went long this stock actually intraday before it became an end of day signal. So once again, good for him. I mean, he took a long in JELD recently, and I blessed it, and it's working out. So he knows what he's doing, so that's good confirmation, AIN. But that should be 3% of my account capital if I can get that raised. HEI, Cancelim quality stock. HEI also confirmed in my price volume BOP scan. Pocket pivot point signal off the 50-day moving average. When I get long with a limit order 91.25, it's a few cents extended from the 20-day moving average. First cut loss level 88.26. Final cut loss level 86.60. Since it is extended, it's not going to be a 3% position. It'll be a 1.5% position. SRPT. SRPT is in my Perfect Speculator scan. Got to take these biotech stocks. BOP is higher than the session before, so that's good. Pocket pivot point signal above average volume right off the 50. Want to get long at 54.40. First cut loss for me, 51.31. You could use today's low a day. And my final cut loss right here, 50.50. Want to remind you, a few days ago, got a long signal in ARDM, but it did more work in the lower end of its range than the upper part of its range, so I passed. Then I got this signal here. but it was extended, as you can see, from the 10 and 20-day moving average, so I passed. So it continues to work. So anytime I get a signal at the 50-day moving average of these biotech stocks that are perfect speculator quality, I'm going to take them, and that's why SRPT is a new long, despite the no green recently in the chart. 2% of my capital in SRPT. And then the reason for this long position, BBX, first off, it is a good signal. It's a very good signal at the 50-day moving average, tight price action following that big up day. I was going to go long the stock yesterday because of the BOP surge right at the 50-day moving average. But once again, it ended up doing slightly more work in the top end of its intraday range. 6 cents, and the lower range was 5 cents. So the top wick is bigger than the bottom wick. So I passed on the long signal with it being extended from the 20-day moving average. Even though the 20-day moving average is still trending lower, it's done the reverse today, putting in more work on the upside than the downside. And even though BOP fell yesterday, this cut loss level is right there. So with BBX, want to get long, 807, first cut loss, 779, final cut loss right here, 765. And with BBX, it's a low price perfect speculator scan stock, so it should just be 1% since it's extended from the 20-day moving average, 0.5% position. Then a ton of long signals. We'll start with the CanSlim and perfect speculator name STRL. STRL also slightly extended from the 20-day moving average, so I'm going to get long limit order 1795. First cut loss level right here 1712, and for this add signal, final cut loss level 1675. This white arrow shows you, normally it's the day after I go long, so that means that this was a signal. That's the day I go long. Sometimes you'll see the arrow on the signal date if I add it into the scan, the watch list that I'm currently in right now in Telechart, but normally I enter them the next day. But that's the initial entry in STRL. This is the add signal, pocket pivot point, 1795, 1712, 1675. It's CanSlim perfect speculator, so it's 4%. Add signal 2%, since it's extended for the 20-day moving average, only a 1% position for me. And then SPPI, perfect speculator quality stock, right off the 50-day moving average. Arithmetic chart's a little bit sloppy. A log chart looks great, right? But an arithmetic chart, excuse me, folks, sorry, I'm not feeling well. Sorry, is a little extended, or is a little choppier. More volatile than those previous consolidation periods that you see in the stock. You can see where I initially went long back here following this day. So that's whenever the initial entry is. It's consolidated since then. Pocket pivot point signal at the 50-day moving average. Want to add at 1934. First cut loss level 1801. Final cut loss level in this add signal 1781. SPPI was just perfect speculator scan. It's an add signal, so it's a 0.5% signal. It's basically a buyback of the recent sells that after this I kind of had some tight stops. Those tight stops hit, tightened them up even further. Those stops hit. So it's kind of a buyback add signal on SPPBI. HDNG, I got shaken out. This is my initial long entry on an end-of-day basis. It stayed true because this close here was above this low, but by the intraday move going below this low, I was shaken out. So HDNG, I'm buying for the second time, but taking a brand new position basically in HDNG. Limit order 1729 on the pocket pivot point signal. First cut loss level 1801. Final cut loss. Oh, I'm sorry. 1729 limit order I want to use, excuse me. First cut loss level. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong stock. 1674. Final cut loss level 1608. You could also use maybe 1674, 1560, or you could use 1608, 1560. It's up to you. I'm going to do thirds. 1674, 1608, 1560 there. DEA is also an add signal from my price volume BOP scan. Used to be CanSlim quality, adding at 2174. My one and only cut loss level for this one, 2147, 0.5% of my, 1% for being price volume BOP, 0.5% for being add, 0.25% for being extended. So only a grand, give or take, is going into DEA. And then the last add signal, which is also going to be a new signal for me, is BPMC. As you will see, this was the initial long signal, so BPMC is technically up 203% since I initially flagged it as a new long. I went long and all was going well, but sometime in this area right here, Interactive Brokers stopped triggering mechanisms or that stop triggering system failed on 4 of the stocks I was long. Unfortunately, BPMC was one of them. I don't know if this would have shaken me out of all of my position. I think it may have, because I'm pretty sure I would have maybe moved a final cut loss level here, or at the very least right here. So I think it would have knocked me out anyway. But on an end of day basis, it's still true and still up 203%. But bottom line is, this is a new long for me. BPMC finding support at the gap up, a fill area on huge volume. 82.16 is the limit order I want to use. First cut loss level 78.49. A gap fill at 75.06 will be my final cut loss level. BPMC is perfect speculator quality. It was also my daily volume surge and price volume bop scan, so it should be a total 2, 3, 4%, 2% for ad signal, 1% total since it is extended. And those are the ad signals, and then there's one more stock, PTN. PTN's long signal is here. I added it to the scan obviously here, but you can see it gapped up. By the time this pullback did happen and hit where my limit order would have been, because since it didn't fill at 74, but next day it becomes the low day 76. Here it gets down to 78, or excuse me, 75. I can't remember why. But either I kept my limit order right here at 74, moved it up to the high of the day, or excuse me, just kept it at 74. I'm sorry, I'm sick, guys, so I'm all over the place, excuse me. And it either missed when it pulled back 75, and or I moved it up and it just didn't fill. Either way, I don't have a position, so this is technically a quote buyback or new buy, but it's not even an ad signal, so I won't even be placing this into the new positions page. This is just on the video lesson area. Limit order 88, first cut loss 80, final cut loss 74. All right, everybody, pretty long video lesson, but a lot of signals, a lot of things to talk about. Aloha.